Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the G League, the very last first round match. It is going to be a best of three between CDEC and Team DK. A match that I believe may be very one-sided. I'm just going to put it out there right now. I have to say, I think CDEC have been looking pretty damn good over the last month and a half, 2 months. I was pretty critical of them, but before that time, about 2 to 3 months ago, I saw a lot of success with maybe I thought he was a great player, but I thought the rest of his team was really just lackluster, to put it mildly. Is that I really felt like it was just maybe. It was just maybe on the team carrying. And the last 2 months or so, I would say that they've improved quite a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they do in this tournament right here. And it's all going to start up against a match that they should win up against Team DK. Now, of course, DK, this is not the DK you know of old. This is the DK, the new DK, significantly weaker DK, the DK that has been losing a lot of matches lately. You should recognize a lot of names. This is, of course, CTY's team. You've got, as well as Dreamy U. He's another great player. But so far, the results from this team have been pretty meh. They've been losing almost all of their matches so far and have not really been providing any upsets at all with their new squad. But, of course, we should be giving them time. Actually, I say that, but I forgot. There was a recent, I would call it an upset. I would call it a big upset, actually. I forgot this happened because it was just the other day. So we turn on some game sounds. That DK actually beat LGD. And that is, I think, the only upset they've provided so far. They've beaten some of the other Tier 2 teams like HGT. They've, I believe, beat LV.
5 seconds remaining.
They've either beaten LV Gaming or they took a game off of them. They had a best of 3 not too long ago where they faced up against each other. I believe that was for the D2L. Anyway, so... yeah, I forgot about that matchup against LGD. So that's the only upset that they've really provided so far. But other than that, well, I guess this is a big opportunity for them to prove themselves because CDEC have been looking quite strong. They lost their last matchup against CDEC in a best of 1. I believe they got crushed pretty thoroughly, if I recall. Let's talk about this draft, though, shall we? Because we've got some stuff that DK are maybe experimenting with a little bit more. Whenever I've been watching DK, they've been running, like, Jakiro, like one position Jakiro, like, constantly. Either that or the offlane Jakiro. They've been picking it up quite a bit. Then with supports, they've been running, like, Shadow Demon over and over again. But here they're going to grab themselves the Witch Doctor as well as the Ogre Magi, which is a ton of sustain between those two supports. And now there it is, the Jakiro picked up for Team DK. Can't say I'm too surprised that with the Jakiro mixed in with the Witch Doctor, you actually have a decent amount of sieging push. The heal from the Witch Doctor plus the constant damage from liquid fire will do a lot of work up against those towers and make it hard for CDEC to be able to push the enemy team off of their towers and save it. But CDEC, they've already grabbed themselves a nice hard carry in the Morphling and have combined it with the Skywrath Mage Batrider pickup. Notice the very early Faceless Void ban. Now, while the Western scene Faceless Void has been dropping off significantly, he's still seen here and there as a nice, like, 3-4, but really hasn't been picked up as much in the Chinese scene. Team DK in particular have been picking it up quite a lot. So, in the hands of Dreamy U, that hero is quite the beast. And they do also love to run the Skywrath Mage Void combo. So, second set of bans coming out, though. We do have the Terrorblade and Slark taken out Terrorblade, especially. Again, Terrorblade being so valued in the Western scene. We've barely seen Terrorblade lose in the West. Of course, recently with Starladder, we saw him lose. But it seemed like overall, Terrorblade is one of those heroes you can't afford to give up. In the Eastern scene, not quite valued as much, though Team DK have run it a couple times. I don't think they really were that successful, though. Viper being picked up now by CDEC, which will give them a lot of early fight, though the damage over time that Viper offers. While Viper is one of the best 15 to 25 minute team fighters, he's exceptionally tanky. He's able to do a lot of chase damage, and overall his damage over time is pretty amazing. He is going to be subject to some tough heroes to kill overall. Ogre Magi and Jakiro, naturally tanky. Brewmaster, same goes with him. They don't really have too much lockdown up against that Brewmaster. It just comes from their first 1-2 pickups. The Skywrath Mage Silence, one of the best disables, and then of course that lasso. But the Morphling and the Viper, especially in some of these early team fights, can't really lay down enough damage to threaten the Brewmaster, I don't think, and don't have any disables of their own. So that means the Brewmaster can easily pop his ultimate. So I think the Viper, while I think it's necessary to have an early team fighter like him, he's still going to have a very tough time up against these naturally tanky heroes mixed in with the sustain of Voodoo Restoration, kind of countering out his damage over time. It's a rough business for Viper to be in right now.
10 seconds
when it comes to hero killing. Outworld Devourer going to be the last pick, though, from DK, and that's a surprise pickup for sure. As OD really not been seen much in the meta lately. It's been a good year since he was picked up consistently, but apparently he's going to make an appearance once again in this matchup up against CDEC, whose last pick is going to be the Undying, going into the hands of Garter. So that means that this I'm trying to think. Do they run an aggro try here? They might. I don't think you want to run, normally, an aggro try up against. There should be an offlane Brewmaster, a mid OD, and a possibly defensive tri-lane, though they could go aggro on the side of Team DK. What I'm getting at here is that the Undying is one of the best tri-lane versus tri-lane supports in the game. Like, he's straight up amazing. Like, between the decay plus the tombstone. So you want to fight 3 versus 3. CDEC, I think they did scout out the fact that DK are going to be running an aggro try themselves, and they're going to be looking to clash. That's why they pick up that Undying, knowing that there's an aggro try coming their way between the early power of the Viper mixed in with the Undying, and then Skywrath Mage is pretty damn good as well. A lot of damage, even if he is very, very squishy. As long as he's good on his positioning, he can actually do a lot for his for this tri-lane of theirs. But this is one of the few times that I think you can battle up against a tri-lane like this. Jakiro tri-lanes are pretty damn good, and then you combine it with an Ogre Magi as well. They're just so naturally tanky that it's hard to deal with that kind of presence, as you can't really capitalize on any positional errors that they make in their aggro try, solely because of the fact that they're so damn tanky. But this is one of the few times that I think you can battle the Jakiro aggro try and may come out on top, and that's solely because of that Undying last pick. And that'll leave Dreamy U to go down to the bottom lane up against the Bat Rider. And CTY playing the Outworld Devourer will be going mid, facing up against Maybe's Morphling. Nice little start for Team DK. Gonna grab themselves a double damage rune for the Witch Doctor. Good way to start this early harassment. They're going to be looking to try and push down early towers, of course, with the Jakiro. Grab a quick mech, push down towers, translate that into a lot of early gold for this OD. Possibly like a really early 4-staff or something along those regards can do wonders for an OD. And then the same goes with the Brewmaster. Getting an earlier Blink Dagger really helps out your teamfight initiation as well. But CDEC can fight them for every tower. Again, because of this Undying, because of the Viper, these two heroes in conjunction are very, very early fighters and should be pretty adept at being able to defend these towers as long as they don't make any obvious mistakes. The Morphling, while he is a bit of a late game carry, okay, we're gonna be having some lag, guys. This is, as you can see from the Morphling just kind of randomly disappearing with no animation, we're gonna be having some lag. This is just the way it rolls. When you try and cast Chinese games, your connection can be pretty crappy. If I get an opportunity, I might try and reconnect, but it's rare that reconnects actually help. Yeah, that dual breath. Level 1 dual breath from the Jakiro. Anyway, they did go ahead and pull out the hard camp, which will be intercepted by CDEC. It's always kind of questionable whether or not pulling the hard camp is actually worth it or not, but when you have a 2-stack and it kills the wave so easily, it is definitely worth it for the side of Team DK. If it was just 1 stack, you would actually potentially be feeding more experience and gold to the side of the defensive tri-lane as your lane pushes forward and the tri-lane is able to go into that hard camp and snipe all the last hits, whether it's the neutrals or the enemy creeps. You can actually get a lot more out of that pull than you would with a normal wave. But when it's a double wave like that, hard to kill any of those extra neutrals, and also those creeps dying a lot faster, not giving CDEC as many opportunities to get last hits. All around, this mid matchup should be, well, CTY. I was going to say pretty favorable for CTY, though Morphling is one of the few heroes who can actively contest the OD when it comes to CS, though as time moves on and the OD gets to level 5, I think is really the big tipping point for many OD matchups, where you simply become too hard to control. The constant extra intelligence that you're gaining is really tough to deal with. Now, of course, the Morphling, he tries and contests via going maxed agility, or not quite maxed agility, but as much agility as he can afford to. And having that extra damage to be able to contest the OD's heavy amount of intelligence damage. But again, level 5 is really when it becomes too tough for the Morphling to deal with. And you could see that really showing off in the CS, that as level 4 and soon to be level 5 have come up, the OD is really taking good control of this lane. And especially with the rune control offered to him as well. You could see the Witch Doctor was able to give CTY up a nice haste rune. Still no action in this try versus try. As it's a bit surprising to me, honestly. The Undying, well, he's level 2. The key level for Undying, your level 1 Tombstone is not a wide enough radius to really be that effective, and it's also got a pretty low HP threshold. So a level 1 Tombstone, not that strong. Level 2's Tombstone is really where you take complete control of the lane. So if CDEC, if DK want an opportunity to go for an early kill, they need to try and do it before the Undying hits level 3. Preferably, they would have done it before he hit level 2. But as soon as that level 3 comes up, I think it's actually too dangerous for you. And as you can see, this is what I was talking about earlier, them taking a lot of the last hits on the neutrals due to another pull from the side of Team DK. Haste Rune being activated, and maybe doesn't actually have any way out of this. CTY backs himself up out of the tower range, then goes back in, trying to claim that last hit onto maybe, who's going to start bottling up, and will be fine as CTY is forced to back himself away as the Haste Rune does run out. Unfortunately, Dreamy U, if he could have made that rotation maybe a little bit faster, could have helped in that kill, and that would have been a very costly first blood death for the Morphling. Dreamy U, he seems to be doing not too bad up against the Batrider. Any melee versus Batrider matchup is going to be a bit difficult, but Brewmaster is one of the better heroes to deal with it, seeing as he's so naturally tanky thanks to the evasion. Plus, Clap is actually a really great ability to deal with Batriders who are trying to go on you, as you don't want any ability that forces you to target the Batrider, because when you're running yourself away, that the slow, the turn rate slow is so rough to deal with, can actually cost you your life if you try and turn around and throw an ability on that Batrider, some sort of stun or slow. The AoE abilities, something like Thunderclap, are really strong for that, because once you turn yourself around, you can still hit that slow without having to face the Batrider in any way. That's what makes Brewmaster one of the better melees to deal with this matchup up against the Bat Rider. Still, the Bat's slightly ahead. Well, actually, now slightly behind in CS. He's taking advantage of the Radiant jungle, though, and that is going to be a lot of extra golden experience for him, as he should be able to quickly pick up his level 6. You can also see he's going to use this rotation to also catch out the bottom rune and refill up his bottle. So, level 6 already. And who's going to be making that first rotation up to this top lane? Because we seem to be at quite the stalemate, which is to the favor of CDEC, I would say, as they've been able to deal with the aggro try quite well. But when is this stalemate going to break? It's going to be from one of the offlaners, I would say, making a teleport up to the top lane. But I can't see the Brewmaster leaving his lane until he has a Blink Dagger, and the same can apply to the Bat Rider, though I think the Bat Rider is more likely to move out of his lane if he sees an opportunity. (36-21), CTY doing a great job up against Maybe's Morphling. Really, at level 7, I mean, once you hit level 5, it's bad. Once you hit level 7, forget about it. You just don't stand a chance. And a double damage OD at that. You couldn't ask for a better controlling rune like this. Now going to jump on Black Seed, though the cask will slow them down of any extra pursuit, and unable to catch up. Rotation in. Yeah, sure enough, the Bat Rider is going to be making this rotation, but he's actually going to be looking for a pickoff here on the OD. I'm not convinced this is going to be successful, though, as he's going to need to wrap all the way around and come in from this direction, I think, if he wants a chance at picking him off. And he's actually not going for it anymore. He's going to go up to this top lane, try and break this stalled out game. 7.5 minutes in, no first blood, despite the fact that we have a try versus try engagement. This is very odd, but it looks like this may be our first blood right here. Cold Snap going to be slowed down as Gardner throws out the tombstone. That's going to be some extra low, and sure enough, Cold Snap will be pulled back into the rest of the enemy team, and first blood will be given to the Undying. So finally a change-up. But just because they give up first blood doesn't mean the end of the tri lane, because soon enough they will have Dreamy U, who can make that teleport up to the top lane with a Blink Dagger already in hand. And that is able to provide a much larger impact than a Bat Rider rotation. That Brewmaster ultimate will wreck this defensive tri lane, especially since, well, thanks to the kill and some of the pulls that have been happening, they're not too underleveled, but typically when you get tri lane versus tri lanes, unless there's a lot of kills on board, both sides are going to fall behind in experience. Now Black Sea's going to be up next. He's tanky as all hell, but it's not going to be enough, as the constant slows between the Viper and then the minus strength coming out from the Undying proved to be enough to get another kill. No tombstone required. And there it is, Dreamy U. They even going to smoke up for this rotation. They want every advantage possible for Dreamy U to make a big splash against this defensive tri lane. They've been losing it out so far, and they're hoping to get multiple kills here. But the first most important kill is going to be the Viper. Immediately jump on him with the clap, lock him down. Meanwhile, the Storm Panda is going to search for any extra kills, but realizes there's nobody really around for the side of CDEC. So instead, he just kills out the oncoming creep wave, and allowing the Jakiro a lot of room to start beating into this tier 1 tower.
Structures are fortified. Dire's top tower is under attack.
Oh, Tombstone's going to go out here, and without the Brewmaster ultimate anymore, can DK actually retreat successfully here? The cast is bouncing around onto the zombies as CDEC are beginning to pursue. Looks like they're going to be able to get at least XPG, and that should be it, as I doubt they're going to be diving this tier 1 tower. A load of zombies everywhere, but only one kill to come from that pickoff. Still, though, no matter what is happening up in this top lane, just remember that Outworld Devourer is getting a ton of space. Popping the Haste Rune is going to be going for the A little bit of extra golden experience from the bounty rune.
Radiant's bottom tower
Already
is
having a
under
hand of
attack.
Midas and 61 CS. So 6xing the middle lane. Rarely do you see that, but OD is one of the few heroes who can pull out a gigantic advantage like that.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
They're going to give some Ogre Magi apparently a little bit of room to get some levels as the multicast, a pretty important part of the Ogre Magi. And them running an aggro try like this has really brought the Ogre behind. And that's the big advantage of running an aggro try, right, is that while you do hurt your own levels, unless you're a really successful aggro try lane, you're getting a lot of kills, you are still buying a lot of room for your mid. No matter who it is, and this is one of the best mids to give a lot of room to, right? The OD, very susceptible to ganks early on, needs a good laning phase start in order to have a successful mid game. If you don't have a good laning phase as an OD, you might as well call GG right there, because this is one of the heroes who has to win his lane and can't afford to be stalled up by ganks. Like, even an SF is not as precarious of a mid as an OD. Like, you can gank an SF, and an SF still has good ways to be able to recover thanks to the AoE damage of his nukes. So he can go in, farm up some stacks in the neutrals, and quickly clear through the jungle. The OD has no such abilities. He is just straight up single target laning presence at first. Maybe is going to be pushed back here. But yeah, the OD definitely needs a good start in the laning phase in order to get those first couple of items. That way you can be a much larger impact with your AoE Sanity's Eclipse later on and have enough sustain to be more than just a glass cannon. Ogre Magi is going to be picked off in the bottom lane, unable to pick up his level 6 before he died. Meanwhile, there's going to be a rotation in from Team DK into this middle lane. CDEC, you could see they're going for all the team fight items here. Undying is going to be going for the pipe, while the Viper is still going to be picking up the mech. I know some players have been opting to go away from the mech ever since the nerf to the mana cost. Really hurting certain heroes. I think Viper is especially one of them. He's actually a pretty mana-dependent hero and doesn't have the greatest mana pool in the world, considering the heavy cost of mech. 225 mana is pretty intense. It's over half of Viper's mana pool. So if you pop a mech and you throw out a Viper Strike, you pretty much have no mana for poison attacks at that point. 1-4, 13 minutes in, and a fairly even game we have right now. DK are a bit behind when it comes to team net worth. You look at it, a lot of their net worth is below many of their counterparts. The one upside is that the OD is so incredibly farmed. Pretty much half of their farm is on solely this Outworld Devourer.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
And he's now got himself a 4-staff, so a lot extra survivability. So the fact that the OD hasn't died, I think you would call it overall, in the broader sense of the laning phase, a success for Team DK. Even if their aggro try went poorly, it still bought the OD enough room. He was never ganked up, he never died, and now with that 4-staff is less likely to die, as that extra mobility is pretty essential for the OD. They've already taken that Tier 1 tower in the top lane, Tier 1 in the middle lane. And next up will be the bottom Tier 1. At the same time, CTY thought it was going to be safe to farm up top, but it may be a bit of a trap. CTY seems to know what's going on, but knowledge may not be enough here. The OD buys himself some time by imprisoning himself, and 3-3-3 will be forced back. So a failed rotation. Meanwhile, Viper going to be gone on here in the bottom lane. The Skywrath Mage comes in trying to help out the Viper as much as possible. Viper gets thrown up in the air. Black Sea is going to be gone on by Gardner, who throws down a great tombstone. And the zombies are just going to destroy this team fight as CDEC are going to be looking to capitalize on the fact that DK made a huge error and overextending themselves past this Tier 1 tower up against an Undying that is never, ever, ever, ever a smart play. Not this early on into the game. So as you can see, maybe was able to pick up the double kill for that one, so even more farm for the Morphling. As CDEC are now going to try and turn this around by taking a tier 1 tower themselves after a great team fight. Considering the pushing power that they have, they really just needed to focus on ensuring that tier 1 tower goes down. And not focusing so much on the kill on the Viper. Especially Viper, man. One of the tankiest heroes in this early game. I know the Brewmaster ultimate is amazing, but not good enough.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Now, CDEC do have their own free farmer now. Obviously, he's not nearly as farmed as the OD. In fact, he's almost half of the OD's net worth. But maybe, thanks to that double kill that he got here in the bottom lane and being a part of another one, was able to gain a bit of net worth back after a really rough laning phase. Rotation in, Tombstone going to be thrown out as XBG tries to slow down the pursuit here. The waveform goes out, but maybe is going to be forced back as the teleport in from CTY is going to prove to be a bit too threatening as they just take the Ogre kill and back themselves out. Trying to kill the Tombstone, but CDEC will chase them away, not allowing them to get that extra bit of gold. And CDEC promptly just going to get back themselves out of this one, so... that was pretty rough, though. And we really need to not have that much lag. So hopefully Reconnect fixes it or makes it a little bit more tolerable, but that that is unlikely to happen. Anyway, if you guys don't know what's going on with G League, you are forgiven. I know Star Ladder's been going on. This is the last first round match of G League. G League is the same prize pool as the previous years, but this year it is an all-Chinese tournament. It is running online, and it is a single elimination, all best-of-3 series. So we already have 3 different teams move on to the second round, and now we just need one more. Black Sea's going to be pulled back here. The Tombstone laid down in position where DK unable to pursue to save their Jakiro. And they're just going to have to give up that 1 kill and probably a little bit more. Cold Snap's going to make the teleport away. XBG turns around, tries to kill some zombies, but between the zombie slow plus the Ziki Napalm, he is just crawling to a snail's pace. 258 movement speed. CDEC are eventually going to catch up with him, especially with the concussive shot that could be thrown in as well, but it doesn't seem like it's necessary. CDEC claiming 2 kills. And damn. Is it actually 1 to 10? It is actually 1 to 10. I thought maybe it was a replay bug, but yeah, the only kill they got was from Dreamy U's rotation up to the top lane where they killed the Viper underneath the tier 1 tower. Team DK. Yeah, it's a free farming OD, and that's scary as all hell, but CDEC are still making the much better engagement in a lot of these team fights, and it shouldn't be surprising, right? The Undying destroys team fights right now. Still ahead by good 2,800 net worth. The OD is looking pretty damn solid over this Morphling, but the Morphling is beginning to gain some ground.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Especially as they start reclaiming some of the tower advantage that DK was able to hold on to early with the Jakiro, but not so much anymore. Teleport in from CTY will go to the bottom lane, where maybe he's trying to get a big push into this tier 2 tower. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, they jumped in, able to grab the Ogre with the lasso. And once again, the lasso Tombstone. Like, how do you really fight up against that?
Dire structures are fortified.
I'll let you in on a little secret. You don't fight it. You can't fight it this early on. The lasso pulling your ally back into a tombstone. The tombstone is placed between you and your ally. There is no saving that hero at all. If you spend too much time trying to throw out disables and address the heroes that are going on your Jakiro or whoever is being pulled back by the lasso, you're going to die to the tombstone. If you focus the tombstone, you won't be able to save your hero, plus you're going to be right in front of the enemy by the time the tombstone dies and may not be able to escape. So the only solution is you just give up that hero. That's the only way you can deal with it. So another tower falling. CDEC, just like Team DK did, making those rotations from one lane to the next, to the next, to the next. Gonna be able to claim all the tier 1 towers here and also get a Linken's up for this Morphling. So no more OD imprisonment.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Still though, he's gonna be awfully susceptible. I mean, Morphling is not terribly intelligent being. I mean, he's a cup of water. He's pretty dumb. Black Sea's going to be gone on, and sure enough, the Tombstone goes out. You can't fight it, so Team DK will give up their tier 1 tower. Honestly, I don't even know why they're trying to defend these towers at this point in time. They're just giving up extra kills when they could just be looking to farm. Split push, farm. There's still a tier 1 tower in this bottom lane that easily could have been taken. When you see CDEC start making that rotation up to top, make your rotation down to bottom lane. Hell, even just backdoor this tier 1 tower with the Jakiro. I don't care. You can take it. Just wait for the OD to get enough intelligence that he's able to blow up the Morphling. That's your biggest hope right now. Because if you look right now at the intelligence difference, the Morphling sitting at 50, the OD is sitting at over 100. And that is obviously going to be growing as his next item, which I'm presuming is going to be a Scythe of Ice, is picked up, and he gets more imprisonment stacks. A 5-man push. Not sure if this is going to be a good idea or not. DK. 5-manning into them. I don't think they're ready just yet. Dreamy U, great reaction there from Q. Able to get off the silence. Dreamy U pulled back, but imprisoned to save him. At the same time, the Witch Doctor ultimate goes out, forcing back the rest of CDEC as best as possible. CTY begins to be gone on by Viper, who's trying to chase him down, but Sun Tzu will be pushed away. As the Brewmaster ultimate is able to go on him, Black is forced back and taken down, actually. Same goes to the Ogre Magi, and looks like our only real escape, not even that much. CTY to teleport out, not successful. As the Decay was able to finish him off, and that means 3 heroes going down for nothing. Sure enough, Team DK trying to force that one in the middle lane and didn't actually get it at all. End up just feeding more kills the way of CDEC. Can't help but feeling like they're just missing opportunities at this point. And I mean like opportunities to try and like push out side lanes and everything else. I don't know why they keep banging their head up against this Undying. And at this point, it's not even the Undying anymore. Like, the Undying is still definitely strong in these team fights, but now you're getting into a point where the Viper is impossible to kill between the mech plus the Overclub that he has. Extremely tanky unit. The Bat Rider is a force of nature at this point. Like, when the Viper jumps in, when the Bat Rider jumps in, unless you manage to catch him like this one, the multicast going out and a little bit of extra damage, they may be able to pop him. Damage over time, not quite good enough. As now the pursuit by CDEC, a Tombstone right in front of the tower is going to be enough to force DK inside of their base. And will save the Bat Rider. But yeah, the pipe, the meg, the double team fight items, the natural tankiness of the Viper, and then the guaranteed pickoff that the Bat Rider is once he has a Blink Dagger 4-stab. Every fight is going to be 4 versus 5. Unless you go for a smoke gank or something along those regards. And now you're just delaying up your Scythe of Ice on the OD by trying to fight so much. Of course, it's hard not to fight when you've got a one-position Jakiro here. It's hard not to go for those pushes, but I really feel like just waiting on just the Scythe of Ice and going for smoke ganks. Two propositions, because at this point, they are just banging their head up against the brick wall over and over and over. And you look at that, the Morphling is actually now caught up with the OD. Only 5,000 net worth behind the OD, who was able to pick up a Hand of Midas at like 5 minutes. So that Hand of Midas, it was what gave him such a large gap between him and the enemy carry. But that gap has now been closed. As the score, 1-15, still DK just unable to clinch any of these pickoffs. Like, they can't seem to pick off a single hero in these team fights. Obviously not enough multicast luck. That's really what's suffering. And you could see the experience is going to be so drastically in the favor of CDEC. Like, the gold is probably, I would guess, yeah, 7,500. They are actually farther ahead in net worth than I would have guessed. But the experience, when you get into so many team fights and you keep getting hero kill after hero kill and the enemy team is getting nothing back for it, the experience is really what begins to plummet so heavily. And now with a double damage rune, looks like CDEC should be able to clean up Roshans for themselves, as there is no way Team DK know what's happening. And even if they did, I don't think there's any way for them to contest it. So an Aegis for Viper? Yep, Aegis for Viper. No need to get into the Morphling at this point because he's kind of unkillable thanks to the Ghost Scepter and the Lincoln Sphere. Unless he gets popped by the OD ultimate, which is becoming less and less likely as he gets more and more stat items. And is able to bolster up his intelligence a little bit more. As that becomes less and less likely, this Morphling is going to start taking over the game by beginning to play more aggressively with maxed out agility, and as soon as he has that shotgun, we'll be able to find a lot of pickoffs. Potentially on the OD, but much more likely squisher heroes like the Witch Doctor and maybe the Jakiro. Nice counter ward being laid down, preemptively seeing that DK would be trying to get as much vision around their tower, their tier 2 tower area on the top lane as possible. But it's still not a fight that Team DK can take, and I don't think there's any fight that they can take at this point in time, because while you could conceivably have this matchup go into the late game and have the OD out-carry the Morphling, that would be with a gold advantage. I think when you are on parity with each other, the Morphling will just do a lot more. Just because of the power of the shotgun. That kind of guaranteed pickoff. Unless the OD is way ahead of everyone, it has like Scythe of Ice Shivas plus Refresher, and is able to like pop multiple heroes with the double Sanity's Eclipse, I don't see that happening. I think all of CDEC are going to be more than farmed up enough to have enough intelligence to live through those double nukes. Once again, Dreamy U gets silenced up and almost taken there. His imprisonment is able to save him, gets off the ultimate, and is going to turn now onto the Viper. As Cold Snap was forced to drop his ultimate there earlier, Gardner just runs right into the rest of the enemy team, knowing that he can tank it up, as DK have way too many zombies on them. And sweet baby Jesus, this lag is too much. Dreamy U gets off a pretty decent clap, and the Sanity's Eclipse being dropped is able to finish off 2 of the heroes, but one of them is going to come back. That's the Viper, who's still ready to fight. Team DK, though, are beginning to stage quite the comeback here, as they are pushing themselves forward, able to get the zombie. Next up is going to be the Viper, and 4 heroes go down, really 5 if you want to include that Aegis life there. CDEC completely overextend themselves as they push way past the set of Raxes that should have been their objective.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Hey, and the gem being dropped as well. There was, I heard a buyback, several buybacks. Jesus, I didn't even notice how many buybacks there were. 3 different buybacks on the side of Team DK. So there's a big reason why they were able to turn that fight. The Panda, Jakiro, as well as the Ogre Magi, all buying back. I think one of the biggest factors of that is look at the OD's farm. Consider the rubber band effects. While that has been diminished entirely, and I feel kind of silly talking about it anymore, it's still something to talk about when you've got these kind of net worth leads and you get a big team fight like that where your carry is able to be a part of many of the kills, and most importantly, live. He just got a bunch of reliable gold out of that one. Look at that, 2,300 reliable gold off of that team fight. Wasn't forced to buy back, and now could be going for, well, what's your next item at this point? Is it the refresher? Do you go for the refresher now? Do you opt to try and throw out the double nukes to start popping these heroes? You know what Perfect World is doing for us, guys? It's actually more of a favor if you think about it. It's basically presenting the team fight in PowerPoint presentation style, right? So we really get an opportunity. We get like 2 seconds of a team fight to just kind of pause, to just to take a look at it and see what's happening and really get a full feel of what's going on. It's like a team fight, you know, breakdown, except for without any animations or knowing what the hell is going on.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Anyway, 31.5 minutes in, and still CDEC holding on to a pretty damn good net worth lead. Experience jumping up quite heavily, and that's going to be very helpful, especially for a hero like this guy, really benefiting from levels most of all. I think he's probably the one support that benefits the most out of levels in the current meta. Because if you're able to get that level 2 multicast, having a 3 times multicast and later on a level 4 times multicast can spell almost a one team fight there. If it's placed on the right hero, if you're able to like just combo down one of their carries real quickly because you got a 4 times multicast, it gets pretty disgusting. BKB being purchased by CTY, knowing that he has to fear. I thought you would have gotten full offense at this point just because you have a very tenuous grip on this game right now, and I really don't see how you're going to be able to come back from this without going a full YOLO build. But he decides to go for a bit more defensive build up against the Morphling, knowing that he's going to be the target of this shotgun, is going to be trying to protect himself. Hey, listen, guys, no hate on PowerPoint. PowerPoint is an excellent tool. Oh, jump in. The smoke is going to be able to catch out Dreamy U. Imprisonment? No, not in time to save him. As the OD tried to force staff himself forward and save him, the Ogre Magi falls over and comes back to life for a second, as maybe was able to pop him with the shotgun combo. As you can see, the remaining remnants of a animation coming out. And now this should be a set of racks here in the top lane. The question is whether or not they feel confident enough to make the rotation in to the middle lane. They know neither one of those heroes has a buyback. DK are just going to try and buy for time here until at least the Ogre Magi is back up.
Middle tower is under attack.
But do they actually make the full committal here? 25 seconds, still the Brewmaster is back up. When he is back, oh, there goes the Chikiro, so never mind. It's the power of the shotgun right there. It's just long-distance artillery that is able to get you a big numbers advantage without making any sort of commitment.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
And sure enough, with the Chikiro being down, I don't think it really matters that the Brewmaster is coming back up, but they will back themselves up. They got the melee racks. They're not going to try and risk it by going for the range racks and being caught by the Brewmaster. Here, I was thinking the Brewmaster comes up as they're going for the set of racks. He teleports in. There's going to be a big team fight, but with the Chikiro going down, no way.
Is mine.
And CDEC now on the verge of being able to claim game number 1 here in this best of 3 up against Team DK. All they need to do is just go for a push now into the bottom lane. And with basically 2 laner racks. I mean, they got the important racks in this middle lane, which was the melee one. As I'm really good at drawing rectangles, guys. Straight lines are my specialty. They could wait for Roshan. That's going to be up in about a minute and a half, though I don't really feel like it's necessary. BKB going to be picked up soon on the Viper. We have a Scotty for the Morphling. I'm sure even some of these other heroes like the Skyrath Mage, you can get a Ghost Scepter or something if he wants. Garter is actually going to be going. Is this so I've kind of talked about it a little bit. The old Aghanims upgrade for the Undying was pretty crap. Like it was terrible. And it's still a pretty meh upgrade, but the 10% increase as opposed to I believe what used to be a 5% increase is pretty decent. And seeing as the fact that Aghanims is already a really great stat item, which is kind of the only thing you need as an Undying, I think the Aghanims is now viable on the Undying as a post 35-minute item. Like, this is your only opportunity. Undying drops off hard, right? He drops off super, super hard going into late game. Tombstone isn't very effective. The decay stacks that you're getting aren't as strong. And, well, jump in, popping the ultimate. They're going to be trying to pop 333 here. CTY popping his BKB, unable to get him. As the BKB goes off from the Batrider in time, and ROD already out of the fight means this is probably already over for Team DK, as they're just going to get chased out. They made a huge commitment there, and now they've got zombies everywhere you look. And Team DK will lose 4 members. The only one last is Dreamy but I don't think the Dream is alive anymore. And hey, look at that. Sure enough, GG was called, even if we didn't get to see it. GG being called from the side of Team DK. And CDEC taking game number 1. So, pretty convincingly, too. Team DK had an okay start with the OD, getting so much farm, but it seemed like they squandered it quite heavily. And one of the few times you'll see you'll see negative fantasy points. That really doesn't happen too often. But the poor Ogre Magi just really couldn't do much in that game, as they only got 4 kills. 4 kills. So Team DK definitely need to rethink their strategy here as they go into game number 2 up against CDEC. Had somewhat of an advantage, really threw it away by making, I think, some pretty piss poor plays. Really just the wrong idea of going into that and dying over and over again. So hopefully game 2, they'll rethink their strategy, maybe rethink their draft if they're not feeling comfortable with it, and come back swinging in game number 2.